Testing? Okay, awesome. Hello, everyone. I'm so excited to be here. I'm so excited to talk. It's great to have events here in Puerto Rico. And yeah, I'm really excited to share about the future of Web3. Let's see if this clicker works. One moment, please. How are y'all doing? Great. Yeah, that's looking good. Perfect. Okay. So, yeah, my name is Shawn Tabrizi. I am a developer working on Polkadot. My past, I studied physics and mathematics at the University of California, Santa Barbara. I then did 4 years of work at Microsoft, working on Azure and the cloud platform. And then I was working for the last 7 years in blockchain development. I started in Ethereum, but then worked into Polkadot. And also, I'm teaching blockchain development for a lot of the introductory students, people who are trying to break into this space. And for the last 4 years, I've been based here in Puerto Rico. I'll warn you already, I think you might tell, I talk a little bit fast. I apologize for that. I'll try to slow down, but you can all remind me. Yeah, slow down. But yeah, it's really excited. I think if you've been following the space, you can feel there's a growing divide in the blockchain ecosystem, right? A divide between people who have long-term thinking about how we can build products and tools for decades and generations, and short-term thinking, people who are trying to capitalize on what is happening now, how we can make money now, how we can basically take advantage of, I think, the gap between knowledge of experts and the average layman, right? And I think one of the ways we can see this actually is Ethereum recently just announced a multi-year roadmap on how they want to scale and decentralize. And this was responded with like people who are very excited about a really promising future, multiple years, but actually getting something done. And people saying, wow, this is terrible for Ethereum. We need something now. We need some kind of product and some kind of money-making thing happening now. And this divide is really gross, right? Because I think if we're really in the space and building the same thing, we should be more in the long-term thinking. And a lot of this comes from the fact that we have a misunderstanding of these terms. We think cryptocurrency, blockchain, DeFi, Web3, we think these are all the same thing, but they are not. They are totally different products. Cryptocurrency is a kind of resource, it's a kind of tool that you can access. Blockchain is just a technology. It's like an engine. You don't go to the store and buy an engine. You use an engine inside of products like cars, right? DeFi is just one vertical in the space, right? And Web3 really is the big overarching idea and is the revolution that we're trying to achieve, right? So let's talk about that. Yep, click. So my presentation, I want to try to go over and remind you the meaning of Web3. This is the really big idea, the thing that brought me into the space. I want to provide you some insights into the future of Web3, where I think we're going, and also share some details about Polkadot and why we're building in this direction, and hopefully convince you that this is the right product to be building in the space for long-term thinking. So what is Web3? Web3 is a technological embodiment of less trust, more truth. So let's break that down for a bit, okay? So why do we need less trust? I hope you might have heard this quote in the past, that absolute power corrupts absolutely. But let's look at the whole quote, right? So it says, power tends to corrupt, and absolute power corrupts absolutely. Great men are almost always bad men, and even when they exercise influence, not authority. But still more when you superadd the tendency or the certainty of corruption by authority, right? Central authorities. So history has shown us that we cannot trust centralized authorities. That was true 1,000 years ago, that was true 100 years ago, that's true today, and it will be true 1,000 years from now. You cannot trust centralized authorities. And here are just some common examples of the past that have described exactly this problem. You have the 2008 global financial crisis, right? Where basically central authorities decided to bail out banks using tax dollars of the citizens or of the world, right? And basically all the bankers got away with it. As you might know, this is the catalyst for the creation of Bitcoin, right? Then we had the WikiLeaks censorship, right? WikiLeaks was actually presenting news information from a non-biased perspective, and governments and central authorities were basically trying to block payments to WikiLeaks, stop the company from accepting payments. So they used Bitcoin to be able to get money and fund their system. And then, of course, you have the Snowden revelations. Right? Snowden revealed that the NSA and other central authorities were basically spying on the whole world, right? Accessing and taking their data and using it. And this was actually a catalyst for the creation of Ethereum, if you actually look in the past. So there's so many more stories about how central authorities cannot be trusted. But these are some of the key catalysts which have brought us to the blockchain space today. So Web3 provides more truth. Why is that? Well, the first 2 bullet points here are the most obvious answers, because Web3 is decentralized and independently verifiable. When you create systems using Web3, you do not have to trust central authorities. You don't have to use middlemen. You can independently verify the way the machines work, the systems work, and know that things are actually happening in a way that you expect. And because they're decentralized, there is no central control of power. Now, there's many other terms here which are all part of Web3. You do not have a Web3 system if you're not open, if you're not borderless, if you're not neutral, if you're not resilient, right? You need all of these properties. Now, some people are building some portion of these properties, but really I believe you need all of these different properties to be a true Web3 system and to provide a world with less trust and more truth. So really Web3, if you can see, is a revolution in the way we interact with the world, right? It changes the way that we can interact with people, interact with businesses, with actors, anyone, by having less trust and more truth. But I think one problem we see in this space, at least for me, is that people basically conflate Web3 with DeFi. We think the only thing that blockchain is going to provide to our world is making finance systems better. And now I must admit that finance is one of the most important things we can change in the world. Money is power, and the ability to uproot the financial system and make it more decentralized is super important. But I want to really point out to you that finance is not the end all of Web3. There are many other verticals that we need to go, that we can access and we can improve to improve our world. It does not end with finance. Hello? And I want to mention, this is totally possible. Because if you actually think about it, blockchain, they always call it like a ledger, they always call it something like that. That's relating to finance. But blockchain is actually just a decentralized computer. At the most basic level, you can take, basically blockchain takes many computers around the world, right? It has a protocol, a design, some kind of system which allows them to act as a single computer with decentralized Web3 properties. So we just have built a computer and we're only using it for a calculator. We're only using it for basically doing finance stuff. There's so much more we can do. Think about all the ways you use computers today. And so this, I think, is one of the most important slides I'll show here today. I think history will repeat itself. Okay? If we go back to the 1950s, the early computers were basically used by finance. The very first time we were using computers was financial companies were going in and using these systems to basically improve the way that you can do transactions. And then by the 1990s, we had business-specific servers. All these different companies had their own on-premises servers, their own on-premises computers, and they were running things. And they realized by the 2000s with the cloud revolution that it made much more sense to basically offload the cost of running a server and running computers to basically intermediaries, right? Be able to rent and use the cloud. And we're seeing this repeat again today. Early blockchains like Bitcoin and Ethereum are being used for finance, being used by people to change basically the way that we interact with finance. And then we've also seen, and you're hearing a lot of L2s and other blockchains pop up, business-specific blockchains start to appear. You have like Kodak or even Sony, they're all building their own blockchain. But they will soon realize that this will not scale. This will not work. So eventually what we'll actually see is actually a decentralized cloud revolution. We will actually see a Web3 cloud provided by big actors and providing these Web3 resources to anyone from a cheaper, more affordable perspective. And so I want to say, going into Polkadot, that Polkadot I think is the next evolution in the blockchain landscape. It is, if you look at the, again, comparisons here, Bitcoin created a calculator, Ethereum created the first computer, and I think what we're trying to build is a cloud server using the same technology and Web3 properties that we've talked about. Excuse me? Yes, and I really think the main idea here I want you to get across is that Polkadot will do to Web3 what AWS did to Web2, right? If we can actually build a strong cloud computer providing Web3 properties, we can actually change the way that people use the internet today, just like AWS has. And the heart of the difference between Web2 and Web3 lies in resilience. This is resilience against censorship, single points of failure, hacks, security breaches. We can actually provide a much better, stronger internet, right, into Web3 by having a more resilient computer. And so I want to go over real quick about the community, the ecosystem technology, which achieves resilience inside of Polkadot. So start with the technology. If we're going to be trying to build a Web3 cloud, how do we go ahead and do that? Well, first we have to start by building a scalable, secure, and resilient supercomputer, right? A strong computer that can actually host lots and lots of applications. Then we design that computer to expose general resources, like Web3 resources, and allow it to be affordable and predictable when you want to purchase those resources. right? That's the formula for any cloud. How do we click? And the resource of Web3 is block space. Block space is the best product to be selling to the 2020s. This is from Chris Dixon, the founder and managing partner of A16 Crypto. Block space is the accumulation of resources needed to run decentralized applications. We're talking about like decentralized execution, storage, data availability, all the basics, right? And block space, it can actually vary depending on the system in quality, availability, and flexibility. So even though there's lots of different blockchains out there, right? Not all of them provide the same high quality block space and resources. So Polkadot is really designed to create the highest quality block space. And I'll show you that from a technology standpoint. So first, it was designed by Dr. Gavin Wood. I don't know if you know Gav, but Gav was the original co-founder and CTO of Ethereum. He was the inventor of the EVM, the smart contract like the smart contract VM environment that you use to program smart contracts. He created the Ethereum yellow paper, built the first Ethereum client, and created Solidity. And then he went on to found Polkadot as a way to scale and make basically Ethereum to really capture the vision of Ethereum of being a world computer. So the first key innovation inside the Polkadot is that it is the first, I would argue, decentralized multi-core computer. So what I mean by multi-core, I mean that just like when you have a computer that has multiple cores or a phone that has multiple cores, basically we made a computer which can run multiple threads, multiple things in parallel. And this is, I think, a brand new idea. If you think about Bitcoin or Ethereum or even Solana or any of these other blockchains, you basically have to run all these transactions in serial through a single processing core. Here, if we can actually have multiple cores, then we can achieve parallelization. Parallelization is the ability to basically run and process these different transactions in parallel to one another. So if you have an application that is not interacting with another application, there's no reason why you have to wait for one to finish before you can start your own. You can run those things in parallel and achieve better results and higher efficiency. We also have this idea of shared security. This is a commonly overlooked problem inside the blockchain space. Basically, it allows a system to scale economically. As we just learned about with like Bitcoin, for example, part of the process of Bitcoin is you have to run miners and you have to basically provide security to the network by using a resource. Shared security is the ability for Polkadot to be able to use its own security and secure other applications on the blockchain. The key thing here is that in the existing blockchain space, without shared security, every single new application and blockchain needs to provide its own security. Every single chain needs to be a multi-billion-dollar ecosystem to be able to be actually resilient and secure against bad actors. In a shared security mindset, you can have small applications run by just one or two developers and take the security inherited from a higher system like Polkadot. And then, of course, we have interoperability. We're seeing now more and more blockchains and applications pop up, and it's super important that if we want to create an actually good, cohesive environment that can collaborate and communicate, we need to have interoperability between these systems, right? And one of the problems has been that people have been designing blockchain systems with interoperability as a secondary factor. When you're building a Web3 cloud, where you're planning to host tons of applications, we absolutely have it as a primary feature and factor of our system. And of course, data availability as well. Data availability is more of a hot topic, the ability to be able to store data in memory. And we actually have seen platforms like Ethereum and Bitcoin both need their own secondary data availability networks to be able to scale themselves. And this costs extra money to the end applications and requires you to use other kinds of tokens. For a good Web3 cloud, we actually integrate this kind of data availability directly into the core infrastructure. So I want to give you some metrics here. Talking about data availability, we have the highest data availability bandwidth of any other system out there. So EigenDA, Celestia, Avail, Ethereum, they all provide some amount of data availability, but they weren't building it for the idea of building a Web3 cloud. With our context of building a Web3 cloud, we have actually provided the highest level of bandwidth for data availability. Additionally, we are the most resilient platform out there. So this is the Nakamoto coefficient. It measures decentralization and resilience. And Polkadot is far and above its peers in terms of decentralization and resilience. We are also the most energy efficient. We've just been talking about energy in the previous presentations, right? Because Polkadot takes advantage of a multi-core system. your phone and your laptop is more efficient today, has better battery life because it uses multiple cores. It's able to move applications into multiple different threads. We've been able to use that same technology, same ideas, to be able to provide a much more energy efficient system. And this might be hard to believe, but it's true, that we are the fastest by TPS in terms of any kind of actual on-chain transaction, not in terms of just what people theorize, but in terms of on-chain transactions, we have had the highest TPS of any other blockchain system out there. And yeah, of course, we're already ahead of the peers, but we're continuing to build even further. I'm gonna just skip over this real quick. So I wanna go real quickly into the community and talk about a little bit what Polkadot is building in terms of groups. Everyone in the Polkadot ecosystem believes in building a more resilient world with blockchain technology. We have, of course, stakers. Similar to miners, we have a bunch of people who actually run these computers around the world, provide the cloud, and provide security to our network. We have a DAO. We have a decentralized autonomous organization which does governance and actually makes decisions for the chain. We do not rely on any central actor. We do not rely on any central party. We actually let the decisions of the blockchain be decided by anyone who owns the token. And of course, we believe education is super, super important. This is actually a photo of me back in December 2023 at University of Puerto Rico, MyOS, where I was teaching students the basics of blockchain with the Evolving Space team. And yeah, we really believe if we want to make it so that people understand Web3, not just DeFi and blockchain, that we need to go and do education. We need to go down and actually teach people how to build and how to use these technologies for the future. And of course, we don't just try to put people into certain jobs, we try to make them join a decentralized organization of technical fellows. So we have people around the world who have no employment, but get paid by Polkadot to do development on GitHub and other decentralized ways. So we're not relying again on centralized companies to be able to pay the individuals. We actually have people go out and build in this decentralized organization. And finally, I want to touch on ecosystem real quick. So I want to say that Polkadot is absolutely exploring spaces beyond DeFi. We have products and teams building on our Web3 cloud across all the different verticals I was mentioning before. Sorry, go back. And these teams have been using the Polkadot cloud already to secure over 40 million transactions per month. This is a huge number in the blockchain space. They have been actually taking advantage and proving that this cloud idea absolutely makes sense. Again, we want Polkadot to be, for Web3, what AWS is to Web2. And we already have a bunch of evidence that applications can absolutely use that. We have things like NeuroWeb doing 13 million transactions secured by our cloud. These are costs that they don't have to pay. They just have to build their application. And again, Polkadot Cloud is really built to help you scale. We have common ideas that you would expect in the normal Web2 cloud, like pay as you go, so you only pay for the resources you need, and elastic scaling, so that you can scale up and scale down the resources you need when you need them. If you have high traffic during the Christmas months or whatever, we can actually allow you to access more resources in real time. And this is, again, proving that this system really works. 10 of the 20 top rollups are powered by this cloud. Right? A lot of these systems are all building their own individual systems, while other people are starting to realize I don't have to build a whole blockchain network when I can just take advantage of a Web3 cloud and have that system work. And a lot of them are building beyond DeFi. Frequency is building decentralized social platforms. EnergyWeb is trying to decentralize carbon credits. NeuroWeb is doing AI. All these systems which are not DeFi, taking advantage of this Web3 cloud. So I just wanted to end saying that, if you believe in kind of the direction we're going with Web3, if you believe in this idea that we are just early in this idea of a decentralized computer, that you too can join the revolution, you can use our technology, you can join our community, and you can build in our ecosystem. I really want to put out here that I think that we're really early in this space, and I really believe that we'll look back thinking, wow, we had this amazing technology, and we were only using it to basically change finance when we can really change the world, right? So thank you so much for your time, and yeah, if you want to talk, I'm going to be around all day.